Thunderstorm now rolling through Houston, tons of lightning with it, and they have extended this severe thunderstorm warning now including almost 2.7 million people, so a very large portion of our viewing area affected here. This goes until 11:15 this morning. Current time is 10:53. So about another 25 minutes left on this warning here as we go, as this storm continues to race to the north. We've seen a lot of lightning. I believe we have a camera shot showing downtown, or at least, no, this is State Highway 225 at LaPorte. This is in the Pasadena area, yeah. And you can see that little glitch there, that was lightning. So you can see there's quite a bit of lightning going on with this storm, even visible in the middle of the day here on our cameras. Look at that, a lot of ponding on the roads too, tons of water there. So again, this is State Highway 225, so these middle lanes here, that's where we're seeing, yeah, lots of water on the road as this storm puts down several inches of rain per hour as rainfall rates. This is from our roof camera, I believe. Yep, this is the roof camera. This is looking to the north. That thing on the right there, that's the pole that actually holds the camera. There's lightning strike. Yeah, so it's not everyone getting it. In fact, here at the station, we're on the west side of town here in the Galleria. It is not raining here at all. There's not a drop of rain falling from the sky, but it is getting loud out there with the thunder and lightning. So as we turn the lightning on, you can actually see what I'm talking about. All the blips there showing up, that's all lightning that's popped up. So the severe component that we're looking at with this extends from Pasadena up through Cloverleaf. This is all going to move up towards the Humble area. So Humble, Kingwood, eventually Atascocita. Aldine, you could get clipped by this as well. So this is now crossing over I-10. I don't know if we have any cameras from I-10 right now. But if we don't, I'm going to actually get you in a little bit closer here so we can look at where this storm is the worst. So right near the Cloverleaf neighborhood, Jacinto City, up towards East Houston now. I think that's going to be one of the next spots that sees the worst of this. I mean, even right in downtown, right, pretty much Edo area, Riverside Terrace, pretty much on the east side here is where we're seeing some of the worst weather. But yeah, right downtown there, where 59 splits off of 45, that's where we're seeing some pretty heavy rainfall. So torrential rain coming down with this. The big threat, though, with this storm has been wind. So we got to go into what's called the velocity mode. Typically it's our rotation detector when we get into tornado situations. Not the case here. But we are seeing some pretty strong gusty winds up towards Beaumont Place. Winds right now, radar estimated on the order of about 54 miles per hour. So big gust there. And we've actually been seeing, so this is the radar beam looking up into the storm. So we're looking, 1,500 to 2,500 feet into the air. And we're seeing these wind gusts. And you might be saying, okay, well, that's above the surface. What's it doing at the ground? Well, the reason why the National Weather Service keeps extending these warnings is because they're actually getting reports from folks about these strong wind gusts. We're actually getting ground truth to what the radar is indicating here. So we have seen 50, 55, 60 mile per hour wind gusts along the path of this storm. So let's get you back out. Again, we're looking at the velocity mode. So we're looking at wind. That's why it doesn't look like that green, yellow, orange you're used to seeing with radar. And we'll get you back in for a closer look. And I want to time out where the most severe part of the storm is going. So we look towards the brighter colors here. So I'll take off this banner. Anywhere you see that red and orange color, when it starts to get into these brighter colors, that's when we start to get into wind speeds that could be above 50 to 60 miles per hour. And you could see a pretty bright shading of that extending from Mont Bellevue all the way through Sheldon. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that they don't have this area included in a warning. So Mont Bellevue, if you're watching us, even though you're not included in the official warning, you could see a pretty gusty thunderstorm rolling through the area, but this is the core of the activity right here. So let's time this out. We're moving the storm at about 45 miles per hour. So this is going to be traveling up 69 up towards Kingwood, Humble, Atascocita. You're on the edge of this warning. You're going to see this next. So as we time it out, again, if the storm's moving 45 miles per hour, we'll take it from the edge of the strongest winds here, and we'll pull this out. This goes out 30 minutes. So expect this in Dyersdale around 10:59, so pretty much right now. Hawthorne Place about 4 minutes. Atascocita coming up here in about 10 minutes. Aldine in about 15 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes. That's at 11:10. And then if this holds together up towards Roman Forest, as you get into Humble, Kingwood, probably around 11:20 to 11:30. So it's a fast-moving storm at about 45 miles per hour. What a camera shot this is. So this is I-10. This is just east of downtown. And you can see everyone's got, first of all, a few things to note here. Camera shaking. That's a sign of those stronger winds that are coming in. But also take a really close look at all of these cars plowing through the water here. I mean, a lot of shaking going on. So this is where the strongest winds are blasting through right now, I-10, and it's gusting. So it's off and on, right? So the camera shakes, then it stops. But in between the shaking, I know there's a lot going on here, you could actually see the cars driving through quite a bit of water on the road. So even though it just started raining in these spots, it's coming down so heavily that it's accumulating very quickly on the road. Let's get back to radar. And you can see, so again, here's I-10. That line right there, that's I-10. The strongest winds now lifting north here along US 90. So Sheldon along the East Loop, going northbound through the Sheldon area. This is where we're going to start to see the worst of it. And we're actually getting some pretty heavy rain here now. Yeah, so heavy rain now in the Galleria area. That's where our station is. But the worst of it, the most severe component, is for now coming out of downtown. So now we're starting to see this come out of downtown, moving towards the Beltway 8 connector, and that's going to be the next spots that actually see some of the worst weather here. Okay, so let's go back to radar. And we'll show you, okay, so a lot of lightning, obviously, but it's the wind. And we've seen pretty ferocious winds with this storm coming all the way through. So we'll get you in for a closer look. So along Beltway 8, Beaumont Place, you're seeing some of the worst of it right now. East Houston, you're seeing some of the worst. Sheldon, Barrett, Crosby, also seeing the worst of this. It's that leading edge of the storm where you're seeing the worst wind. Once the wind passes, then it's just torrential rainfall. And we've actually seen some pretty good rainfall amounts. Actually, we're going to be able to show you that. So we'll take you a little farther to the south here. We'll go past areas that have already seen some of the worst in terms of the severe component. And we get you the 1 hour rainfall totals. About 1.5 inches near Olcott. Webster, you've seen about 1 inch of rain. And again, this is just in about 30 minutes. So these are pretty fast rainfall totals. 1.5 inches in a half an hour, that's 3 inches per hour, which lines up with some of these intense rainfall rates that we're seeing out there. So as we kind of widen the shot, and you can see heavy rain extending all the way down to the coast behind this. All right, so let's get back to radar, and you can see the darker red. We'll take the lightning off. The darker red, that's the worst of it. Also notice how it's starting to bow out a little bit. Whenever you get that bow segment, that indicates where you're starting to see some of those really strong straight line winds. So this is where I suspect we're going to see some of the worst activity here. Coming out of Mont Belvieu, coming out of Pasadena, moving up towards Aldine, Huffman, Atascocita. If you live in these spots, this is where we're going to see some of the worst of the activity. So, and you can really see what we're talking about here with that bow echo feature. How it starts to kind of bow out. Think of like a bow and arrow, right? That's why we call it a bow feature. So this is the area, I think, where we could see some of the worst winds, right in here. So, wow. Speaking of the devil. So this is I-10 east, right? This is just east of the previous shot. Where was the previous shot again? East of downtown. Okay, so this is about 10 or 15 minutes to the east of downtown. You can see roadways still in decent condition. I mean, they're wet, but we're not seeing people driving through huge puddles, which is good news. It was a different case, though, in that other shot farther west going towards downtown. But still, the camera's shaking there. Not seeing any debris or anything on the road, so that's the good news. Let's get back to radar, and we want to talk about this area right in here. So this is between the loop and Beltway 8, that's probably the area that's seeing the worst of this right now in terms of wind. So we'll clear that. We'll go back to the velocity mode because I know we're all used to seeing, radar reflectivity. We're used to seeing the green and the yellow, the orange. You may not be used to these colors. So again, whenever we see like the darker colors here, that indicates winds on the magnitude of 10, 20, 25 miles per hour. Nothing severe, just kind of breezy winds. Whenever you get into this orange color, some of these brighter colors, that's where we start to push those severe limits. And I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if this section here going into Liberty County gets severe warned just based on the colors, right? Because that's where we're starting to see some of these brighter colors. We're getting that bow shape on those brighter colors. And so that's coming out of Mount Belvieu, moving up towards US 90, towards the town of Liberty into Liberty County. So pretty much extending from 45 all the way out towards Mont Belvieu. and moving to the north. So it's going to be going up 69 here until it weakens, until it falls apart, which we just are not showing any signs of that happening here. We've been tracking the storm for the last hour now. That's the first severe thunderstorm warning. Actually, beyond that, the first severe thunderstorm warning came out on this back at 9:30. So this has been a pretty long-lived storm, first starting at the coast and now continuing off in this direction. So let's take a look at a sampling of what some of these winds are. I'm just curious. Yeah, I mean, 58-mile-an-hour winds. I'm kind of surprised this isn't warned yet, because you look in the warning area, we got 48-mile-per-hour winds. So Liberty, heads up. I think you might be under the gun for maybe a severe thunderstorm warning here coming up in just a few minutes. This is a look from the roof camera. Our roof camera here in the Galleria. You can see visibility is pretty terrible right now. So visibility is probably down to about a half mile, if that. Can't even see downtown. No hail though. This is just a wind maker, and as evidenced by here, I know the banner says rotation detector. If you're just kind of tuning in, this is a radar product that we use to diagnose when there is rotation, but we also use it to diagnose when there's strong wind gusts within a thunderstorm. So yeah, some pretty impressive numbers out towards just north now of I-10. And we actually we saw that shot from I-10, and that looked pretty impressive. I'm going to ask my producer in the booth, Wiley, if we can get any cameras here. Nice. Okay, so this is from 69 looking south. You can see the storm there on the right-hand side of the screen. The ground looks a little wet here. We have had, some downpours, some thunderstorms around Atascocita so far. That's not the main line yet. That's still to the south. But you could see, really good contrast here where that storm is. This is going to be crossing over the interstate as we go into the next 15 to 20 minutes. Do you know how far north this is, Wiley? How far north that shot was? Probably about 15 minutes or so north of downtown. Okay. So yeah, so I mean, we want to look for cameras, I think, somewhere up in this area, up around the Grand Parkway, Beltway 8, anything over here. Even if we have anything on US 90, that's where I really want to see what's going on, because the wind in there looks pretty impressive. Again, so we're showing you the wind on here because that's the main threat with this severe thunderstorm warning. That's, by the way, impacting over 2.5 million people. And where we see these brighter shadings of orange and yellow, like gold color, you're talking 50, 55, 60-mile-per-hour winds. And that even extends inside of the Beltway here, inside Beltway 8. But notice how the winds definitely do drop off the farther west you go. All right, so just to refocus everyone, 11:05, warning goes, I believe, until 11:15 for this storm moving to the north at about 45 miles per hour. So let's put a track on it. Let's talk about where it's going next. And we're going to start it all the way out there. And we'll pull this north about 35, 40 minutes. Oh, didn't mean to do that. So Liberty, if this this is going to hold together. So Liberty, 11:15, about 10 minutes. That's when that's going to impact you. So strong gusty winds, a lot of lightning, a lot of rainfall as well. Spring, 11:23, Cleveland, if it holds together, just after 11:30. So this is going to continue to race north, eventually out of Harris County into Montgomery County. Right now, though, only Harris County included in this warning, and extreme northern portions of Galveston County. But you're in the clear. So let's talk about areas that are in the clear right now from this severe thunderstorm. We'll go back to radar, and you can see pretty much wherever wherever that line of lightning is, that's the most severe component of this storm. So farther to the south, Seabrook, League City, Baytown. Baytown, you're still included in the warning, but you're in the clear for now. It's just going to be a rainmaker now as we go through the next few hours behind this little squall line that's moving north. And you can see it is starting to extend a little farther out towards the west. But the severe component's still here just on the east side of town. So the northeast side of town, this is really where we're seeing the worst of it. Once you get into the Galleria, that's when the severe threat really starts to drop off. Going out towards Katy, we're not even seeing any rain out beyond Beltway 8 here, going off towards the west. But it's really this area here where we get that lightning burst. That's where we're seeing some of the strongest winds, and also where we're seeing some of the heaviest rainfall. We're going to wait to see if they extend this warning. In the meantime, we're going to stay with you on air. We'll zoom in a little bit here. So in between the Beltway and the Loop, this is where we're seeing some of the worst weather right now. As we go back to velocity, you can see that brighter shading there right along the Beltway. So that's where we're getting the worst of it. Now about to come into Atascocita. Wind values there, upwards of 45, 50 miles per hour. So this is one severe component. And then again, just outside of the warning, I know it's not warned, but this area also seeing some pretty high wind reports, in excess of 50, 55 miles per hour. So pretty much anyone that lives to the east of Houston, you're seeing some pretty nasty weather now starting to move to the north. So we'll get us back to the wider view, looking downstream. And you can really see, it jumps out at you where those severe winds are. It's that brighter banding of yellow and orange. I mean, there's nothing else that really stands out here. Got a little bit of green down here indicating winds that are coming from the south. The red indicates winds that are moving away from the radar, which is right there in League City. So those are north, those are south winds there, moving north away from the radar. And the strongest is that leading edge there, extending into Liberty County and then all the way into northern Harris County. So that's what's going on right now. Do we have any new cameras, Wiley? Okay, yeah, let's do that. So we're going to get you in street level here. We're going to start right now in between Beltway 8 and the Loop. And some of the spots that are actually getting this the worst right now. East Houston, Scenic Woods, Hawthorne Place. So if you live along Homestead Road, you're getting it pretty bad right now. East Mount Houston Road, Hopper Road. And where is this camera shot coming from? Oh, that's exactly where we are. Yeah, exactly. So right where we were just showing you on radar, here's your TransStar shot. And you can see the wind has really calmed down. So now we're behind the worst of the wind in this part of town. But a lot of water on the roadways. Thankfully, traffic's still moving, but a little bit slower, of course. So that's going to be the issue for us as we're out and about today, is just kind of driving a little bit slower with the rainfall out there. Heaviest of the rain now just to the east of 69. As we take you outside of Beltway 8, this is where we're seeing some of the worst of the winds now at Tascasita along FM 1960. Okay, so this is where we're seeing some of those strong winds. Kings River Road as well, out towards Humble, Kingwood, Huffman. These are some of the spots that are now about to get into the worst of the weather. So if you live there, you're watching, this isn't something you have to go to the basement for. This isn't a tornado. But if you have any loose furniture outside, garbage cans, any plants that are in pots outside, you maybe want to take them inside, because we are about to get some pretty gusty winds moving through there. You don't want to blow that stuff over. You don't want to have any issues with that. Lightning, though, very electric storm coming in as well, so you don't want to be caught outside as this approaches. And we are seeing some pretty good rainfall rates here, in excess of 2 to 3 inches per hour. And we've actually seen that radar estimated rainfall numbers down a little farther to the south. All right, so this is Beltway 8 east. Okay, just northeast of the Beltway, so just northeast of Beltway 8. And you can see blinding rain. Trying to see if we can actually, and you really can't make it out, but it looks like some of these cars are going through bigger puddles. The camera's not shaking much, so not a ton of wind in this part of town. I think the worst of the wind has now started to move off towards the north. Yeah, so this is Beltway 8 here. The worst of the wind now coming into Atascocita. So we'll show you what that wind looks like. Yeah, so Atascocita is really starting to get the worst of it now, or they should be at least. Upwards of 50 mile per hour winds possible. So now, as this storm begins to move farther away from the radar beam is now starting to look higher and higher up into the clouds. So our element of ground truth is going to start to diminish. Then we're actually going to have to start getting reports from the ground as to what's happening. But this is showing pretty much the same thing that it was before. So I have no reason to believe that we aren't seeing strong winds in these locations. So again, upwards of 50 miles per hour pretty much along FM 1960, Tascasita Road. That's where we're seeing some of the worst of it right now. That's lifting north. Kingwood, you're up next. You're going to get some pretty good gusts in here soon as well. There's the newest scan just coming in. Kings River Road, you're seeing winds upwards of 45, 50, 55 miles per hour in that area, and that's going to continue here as we go through probably the next 30 minutes or so. Let's see. As we widen the shot, you can see that's some pretty impressive winds out there also in Liberty County, so just to the west of Liberty itself. And what I'm pointing out here is this area of brighter colors. This is not wanting to cooperate at the moment, but there we go. Yeah, so some of these winds are looking pretty good here, 55 miles per hour within the storm. So when we switch over to radar mode and we see what it actually looks like, you know, wherever you see that red coloring, it's the heaviest rain, it's the worst part of the storm. So pretty much an arc going from Liberty out towards Tascasita and Humble, out towards Aldine. So severe thunderstorm warning still in effect. That goes till 11:15. It's going to expire here in 2 minutes. It's not going to cancel. It's just going to let it run out. But this was affecting over 2.5 million people. So a really impactful storm here going through the downtown area and mainly really to the areas to the east of downtown. We're waiting to see if they're going to extend it. If they extend it, we'll put the track on it. We'll show you where it's going, and then we'll jump off here because we need to start getting ready for our noon newscast. And coming up in that newscast at noon, we're also talking about the potential for more severe weather as we get into the overnight and tomorrow morning. So we're not done yet. This is round one. Remember the last 2 days we were kind of advertising 2 rounds on the way. This is round one. Didn't come for the morning commute. That's good because you would not want to be driving in this during the morning hours, at least when everybody else is on the road. Okay, so I'm just hearing now that we're getting a 15-minute ground stop at Bush. Do we have a camera at Bush? Would we be able to pull one up or at least nearby? Working on that. Okay. That makes sense, though. They would do the ground stop just based on, you know, seeing this wall of water, this wall of wind headed towards the airport. These are typically storms that they have pilots kind of vector around. And so if it's moving right towards the airport, you just got to stop everyone. So delay is coming in. Okay, so they dropped the warning. I don't see a new one, which means that it is their philosophy at the National Weather Service that this is now dropped below severe limits. That's good. We're going to keep updating this on social media, online, if anything changes. And of course, we're going to have more updates coming up on the KHOU 11 news at noon. That starts in about 45 minutes. So we're talking more about the severe threat for today and also into the overnight. And I hope to see you then. Thanks for watching.